What's his name?
I don't know.
Say it again.
I don't know.
But you know verse 12 it's Muhammad, but you don't know who it is in verse 11. Because verse 12 is not a prophecy about a prophet. If you read the chapter, God is rebuking Israel, punishing Israel, and saying, my people Israel are like an unlettered, uneducated, illiterate buffoon who's not able to read, and they're like a man who wants to read, but the book is sealed from him. He's making fun of Israel and likening them to a man who's uneducated, illiterate, because he can't understand the revelation, and to another person who, those able to read, he can't read the book because it's sealed from him, because God has sealed it as part of his judgment upon his people, and you're assuming it's a prophet.
Beloved, once again I greet you and I welcome you to Lawson Media. Yes, I'm called Watcher Stephen. And whenever I get in my seat, it's about we refuting those infidel objections that has been gathered since time immemorial against Christianity. And I've been telling you, I do not hate Muslims. I do not have any pent-up resentment against any Muslim. All we get to remain. But since I'm a Christian and you are a Muslim, and you know for sure that Islam claims to be superior to Christianity, the Quran claims to be superior to the Bible. Even that the Quran doesn't make such claim or such assertion, but rather Islamic scholars do assert that the Quran is superior to the Bible, and they claim the Bible is corrupted and all that. The Quran has been there for since time immemorial, and it has never been none of its passages has ever been touched or tampered. Is this true? And the challenge is thrown from a book with appellation, The Basic Principle of Islam, page 4. When you read this book, you get to know that that's exactly the challenge the Islamic scholars are throwing outside there. But I think I've already also shown you a book that refutes this ideology or this claim. Okay, it was written by a practicing Muslim, and it is an Islamic encyclopedia. To remain. And I gave you a footnote and a bibliography that is Cyril Glassé, the concise encyclopedia of Islamic history. When you read the footnote 324, you get to know that indeed this book also, which was written by a practicing Muslim, an Islamic scholar, also asserts or stipulates that indeed the Quran isn't one around the world. Okay, there are basic Arabic Qurans around the world, several different basic Arabic Qurans around the world. How we get to remain. Muslims, apart from this, try their possible best to infuse themselves into the Bible. Okay, they try themselves. They try as much as possible to be revealed in the Bible, to be immersed on the in and on the biblical passages. But I've always been telling you that there isn't an iota of prophecy in regards to Muhammad in the Bible. Okay, there isn't an iota of prophecy, because the prophecies, the biblical prophecies, has their pattern. All we get to remain, there are biblical characters, they are people of prophecies, God knows, God had people of prophecy. He had persons of prophecy, and he had the receivers of the prophecies. All we get to remain, or the receivers of those messages. You get that? So the Bible has a pattern, right? And there's nothing like a pattern via which God was going to make Muhammad his prophet someday, and Jesus Christ wasn't sufficient for us. Moses prophesied about Muhammad, Isaiah prophesied about Muhammad, blah 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 blah. Even how at all do you have to be doing this? The Bible has its pattern, and those of you out there who always claim that Muhammad descended from Ishmael is Arabia is as a result of Ishmael and all that, I think you do not study well your Bible, because it is never true. Okay, Ishmael was never Arabian. Ishmael didn't ever live in Arabia. Or we get to me. Ishmael's mother was Egyptian, and his father was Aramean. Abraham was Mesopotamian. Or we get to me. He was never an Arabian. So on his father's side, he wouldn't have been an Arabian, and on his mother's part, he wouldn't have been an Arabian. Or we get to me. So this kind of ideology, this kind of explanation, doctrine is never true. Okay, don't be dogmatic about this because it is never true. Do well your studies. I've always been telling you to study the Bible with the Bible and your Quran with critical eye and an opened mind. I'll be get to me. Shall we take a quick break and return? We are actually going to react, and I'm not going to talk much. Okay, you're just going to hear some Shamoun out the way he's debating this Muslim in regards to the idea that Muhammad was an unlettered prophet, and even it is he who is being spoken of in Isaiah 29 verse number 12. Muslims do just read only verse number 12 of Isaiah 29. They omit verse number 11. But when you read in the biblical passage, make sure to read them in their context, because out of context you can just juxtapose them with anything else. Or we get to me, can just compare them with and to anything else. Do well in biblical interpretations and applications. Shall we take a quick break and return? Well, beloved. Isaiah 29, verse number 12 reads. Okay, I'm gonna help you with the reading. Okay, I think that's exactly what Sam Shamoun is going to educate this Muslim about. Isaiah 29, verse number 12. So I'm starting from verse 11. Okay, excuse me. I'm starting from verse 11. Verse 11 reads, "And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed." Listen up, beloved. Verse 11 reads again, and this is the old King James version of the Bible. Okay, "And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed. Okay, so what at all is God speaking of over here? You get that? So he's saying, what is it? The vision of all, the vision about everything has become unto Isaiah as or just like the words of a book that is sealed. Okay, if a book is sealed, or just like what we have in the Bible, or just like people has written several many books outside there are several many authorships outside there, we get to remain. So these books are already sealed. Okay, they are from page 1 up to the latter page, or we get to remain, or the last page. It is sealed. Or we get to remain. The Bible is sealed. It is from Genesis up to Revelation. It is sealed, and we need no add-ups. We need not deductions, and we need not additions. How we get to remain. So when we talk of a thing that is sealed, it is already done, being compiled, and when it is given you, I think everything you need to know in regards to your living from the book is already stipulated in the book. So we have everything sealed. We have everything we need to know so as to be able to know the will of God. How we get to remain. So the Bible is a sealed book. That is it. So Isaiah was informed by God, and the vision of all, you get that? The vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, meaning everything has been revealed to you. There isn't anything you have not given you a vision of. You know whatever is going on among the Israelites, whatever they're doing and all that. Their deeds, their stubborn deeds and their good deeds. You know all these. You know all the other nations are doing and all that. You get that? So the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed. So if I continue, which men deliver to one that to one that is learned. You get that? So if a book is sealed, men do deliver those books to ones that are learned. Okay, I'm a learned person, maybe you're a learned person. So if I come to your colony, if I enter your territory, and perhaps I'm seeking for someone to read something out loud to the hearing of some my addressees, I would pinpoint to you, please, can you help me do this reading? Because I know for sure that you are the literal person over there. So I will give you the sealed book to open it up and read some pages for me and help me with the explanation so that your people can understand. You get that? So it's somewhat like you've entered into a community and perhaps you want to communicate something to the people, but you don't understand their language and they don't understand your language. So what will you do? You will have to search for a person who knows maybe Chi or English, and you're going to help the person understand or know what actually you really want to give out to the people, and surely he's going to help you with that. He's the learned person over there. He's the one that can speak English. He's the one that can read and also understand and be able to distribute. How we get to him? So that's exactly, it is logical. How we get to him? So that is exactly what God is telling Isaiah over here. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned. And it does make sense, okay? Saying, read this, I praise thee. So the man when gives the book to that person, so it is an actual book. Just listen up. God is not saying he's going to tell Isaiah to read something or somebody to read something. Or we get to him, he's just making an example. Okay, whenever a person speaks and says Akwasi looks like Kwadwo, it doesn't mean he's saying Kwadwo is Akwasi. Okay, Akwasi looks like Kwadwo. I told you this, just like maybe someone will say this, blah 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 blah. The example I'm giving isn't what actually I am referencing. Okay, I'm actually talking about this, but I'm just citing an example. So God is only citing an example over here. He isn't saying that a book is literally going to be delivered to some prophet and is going to say, I cannot read. Just listen up if you're a Muslim. How we get to this is how you misinterpret biblical passages and you make misapplications and all that. You have to read the Bible, biblical verses, biblical passages, or the verses in their context to understand. How we get to him. So I'm just taking my time to explain this to you. So you can see for sure that God isn't talking, the actual subject over here isn't the book. Okay, the main thing of importance over here isn't the book, but rather God is saying the visions of all things. Everything has revealed to Isaiah just like a sealed book. So the sealed book is coming in here to serve as an example, but it isn't the thing of importance. It isn't the actual thing God is referencing, but he's just citing that as what? As a reference or as an example. How we get to me, and he continues by saying that he continues, okay, let me get there. He continues by saying that those books, you see, they are delivered to one that is learned. Okay, so meaning you are my prophet, and through you are the term prophet means before tell, prophet. Okay, it's from two Greek words, prophet. You get the prophet. That is before tell. You see, before tell you hear, then you tell the people for me. Okay, this is it. So during all these times, the books weren't written, and whatsoever God had wanted to be inscripted were written for us. Okay, but by working through these holy men. How we get to him. So the Bible isn't talking about actual or literal book over here. It came in for an example. Okay, but that isn't the main thing God is referring to over here. Okay, so he says, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he says, I cannot, for it is sealed. You see, so it's an example. It isn't an actual thing happening. Fancy God has told or God has informed some prophet to read, and he's saying, I cannot read. So you see what you do as Muslims? You have to read the Bible verses within context. Okay, the Bible isn't saying it over here that a book was given to somebody and the person was told to read, and he said, I am an unlettered prophet, I cannot read. But it's an example. It came in as an example. It isn't the actual focus of God's statement over here. Okay, God is talking about vision in regards to everything that has been revealed to Isaiah, and he's saying just like, okay, just like, or as if, or you get, that is exactly what God is saying over here. Okay, it's like a book being given to somebody to read, and the person says, maybe I cannot read, and blah 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 blah. God isn't saying literally I've given a book to somebody to read, and the person is saying I cannot read. Now for you to say, for you to ascribe it to Muhammad, fancy it is Muhammad who was told to read by the angel, and he said he cannot read. This is very much uncalled for. You see how you force yourself into the Bible. So Muslims will never bother themselves to read verse 11. Okay, they will just go to verse 12. Verse 12 continues. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned. Listen up. The book is delivered to him that is not learned. So it is still an example. It isn't a literal, an actual book isn't given to anybody. God is talking about vision. He says the vision of all things has been given to you, the prophet. Meaning, if you've had a vision in regards to everything, what I implore you to do is to go out there and be bold and to speak in my name. Tell them what I'm requesting for them. Tell them what is required of them. Don't keep them to yourself. You know everything. Why don't you go there to preach? It's somewhat like that. Okay, so you don't want to go there maybe because you fear. You are acting just like maybe a person who is learned and has been given a sealed book to read, and the person is saying, I cannot read. So the actual focus over here isn't a book, but rather the God is talking about vision. Okay, vision that has been delivered to somebody to deliver, and the person is hesitating to do so. I hope you get it with me. So read the Bible well and you understand as a Muslim, okay? And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he says, I am not learned. You see, so Muslims just took this, duplicated this, and they chipped it into the history of Muhammad. This is serious. Okay, the Bible's focus over here is something different. I hope you've got it. Well. Quickly, I'm not going to talk much. Okay, Shamoun is going to do the next talking. Shamoun, let's hear you out. It's Isaiah 29, verse number 12, about Muhammad. He interrogates, and I think he's going to do this with the Muslim. Shall we hear him out and return?
Go now to Isaiah 29:12. Read for me.
Or if the scroll is someone who cannot read and say, read this please, they will answer, I do not know how to read.
Okay, so this verse you're saying is about Muhammad, because when Gabriel came to him and said, read, he says, I don't know how to read. So this is about Muhammad, right?
Yes.
What about verse 11?
Chapter 96 of the Quran.
Okay, but read verse 11 for me.
For you, this whole vision is nothing but words sealed in a scroll. And if you give the scroll to someone who can read and say, read this please, they will answer, I can't, it is sealed.
Okay, now why did you read 12 but ignore verse 11, which is the context?
So you see, Shamoun asked, so this passage says a book was given to somebody and the person wasn't able to read, so it's talking about Muhammad, right? So Shamoun continues with another interrogation. The Muslim also responds. Okay, the Muslim says, yes, it is true. Yes, it is indeed talking about the Prophet Muhammad. Shall we hear him out?
Go now to Isaiah 29:12. Read for me.
Or if the scroll is someone who cannot read and say, read this please, they will answer, I do not know how to read.
Okay, so this verse you're saying is about Muhammad, because when Gabriel came to him and said, read, he says, I don't know how to read. So this is about Muhammad, right?
Yes.
What about verse 11?
Chapter 96 of the Quran.
Shamoun redirects him to verse 11, just like I read verse 11 and 12 for you understand, and I'll be getting with me. So he tells him to read verse 11. Let's hear him reading the verse 11.
Okay, but read verse 11 for me.
For you, this whole vision is nothing but words sealed in a scroll. And if you give the scroll to someone who can read and say, read this please, they will answer, I can't, it is sealed.
Shamoun again asked, after having implored this Muslim to read verse 11, why do you read verse 12 but ignore verse 11? Since that's the context. You see, so he placed this question before the Muslim. Why do you read only verse 12 but ignore verse 11? Because when you read in verse 12, you have to know it's in a context. Because when you read verse 11, you will get the clear-cut information over there that it isn't about any actual book, and even it isn't about a real book given to somebody. But it was about a vision, and God was citing example. Okay, that is it. So, well, shall we hear the Muslim out and return?
Okay, now why did you read 12 but ignore verse 11, which is the context? Have you ever read verse 11 before this meeting?
No.
Okay. Say it again. You never read verse 11 before this meeting, right?
Yeah. No, sorry.
Well. Shamoun continues by saying, you said because Isaiah 29 verse 12 says, a book was given to a man but could not read, it's about Muhammad, right? He keeps on asking this question, and okay, let's hear them out during this interrogation and come.
Okay, so again, you took one verse, didn't bother to read the verses before and after. So now let's follow your logic, be consistent. You're saying Isaiah 29:12, because it says you give this book to a man and he'll say, I cannot read. That's what Muhammad, right?
Yeah.
Well, Shamoun, I'll educate this Muslim for us. Let's hear him out again.
But in verse 11 it says, a book will be given to a man who can read, but it's sealed, and he'll say, I can't read it. So are you saying two prophets will come? One who can read, but because the book is sealed, he can't read it. Another who can't read. So who's the other prophet then? Who is the prophet who will be given a book that's sealed and will say, look, I want to read it, but it's sealed and I can't?
You see, Shamoun is very good. Please, let's hear him out again.
What's his name?
I don't know.
Say it again.
I don't know.
But you know verse 12, it's Muhammad, but you don't know who it is in verse 11. Because verse 12 is not a prophecy about a prophet. If you read the chapter, God is rebuking Israel, punishing Israel, and saying, my people Israel are like an unlettered, uneducated, illiterate buffoon who's not able to read, and they're like a man who wants to read, but the book is sealed from him. He's making fun of Israel and likening them to a man who's uneducated, illiterate, because he can't understand the revelation, and to another person who, though is able to read, he can't read the book because it's sealed from him, because God has sealed it as part of his judgment upon his people, and you're assuming it's a prophet.
So, nice one. So, Muslim, please help us with your understanding of what Shamoun has said. Let's hear him out as well.
Now read verse 13, Isaiah 29:13.
The Lord says, these people come near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is based on merely human rules they have been taught.
Okay, did you now understand the context? Verse 11 and 13, it's talking about his people who are rebellious, who are evil, who oppose God, and God is now fed up with them, about to punish them?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your conclusion, Shamoun?
Verse 11 one more time for the context so you can get it.
For you, this whole vision is nothing but web scroll.
See, for you, who's the you?
Give the scroll.
Hold on, before you go, Muhammad. For you, who's the you? Who's he talking to?
Israel.
So he's saying, for you, Israel, this vision is what?
It's nothing but word sealed in a scroll.
See? He's saying, for you, these words of the prophet are nothing like but a book sealed that you can't read, or even if you could read it, you're too illiterate and stupid to understand it. And you're saying it's Muhammad.
Nice one, beloved. So just as I told you, okay, I think I've given you a lot of explanations over here in regards to Isaiah 29, and Muslims do cite many passages in the Bible, and they do try their possible best to ascribe them or attribute them to Muhammad. And Muhammad also made an assertion in Quran chapter 5, verse number 13, that all those that were written about him were taken out by both Jews and Christians, but he gave no evidence. Muhammad has no evidence. And again, I think Isaiah Quran chapter 66 verse number 1 also, I think Muhammad makes same assertion over there. But I think if you've ever read this book from Abbas Sundiata, okay, Sundiata, I think Sundiata 2006 page 71 and 72, Sundiata says that it's very much absurd for a Muslim to assert that the Jews and the Christians were able to tamper their own scriptures, because they would never do that. They revered their books a lot, and they even sometimes they would even love to worship their books. Okay, they knew they had a revealed religion, they had a revealed book, and they revered their books a lot, and they would tell their youngsters, okay, that please make sure to reveal this book, and it is from God, so you need not to tamper any of its verses or any of its text or any of its passages. I hope you get to me. So just like the Muslims try their possible best to revere their Quran and even sometimes sees it as some deity, that is how some of the Jews also saw their book to be. So they never messed around with their book. So Abbas Sundiata 2006 page 71 and 72 says that it's absurd for a Muslim to make that stipulation. And again, I think Flavio Josephus, I think his book is it book 1 page blah blah blah, forgotten the actual book and the actual page. He also says that they never ever tried that. The Jews, whenever they are born, even I think at the age of 12, they would be told by their parents. Their parents, this book is a revealed one from God, and our religion is a revealed one. So make sure to revere well our deity, and make sure to not mess around with the book and others. So they would never ever do that. They would do everything to back up or to maintain and sustain their book, or to keep their book or be get to remain, and they would never allow any alien stuff to tamper any of the verses of their Bible or their book. Or be get to remain. So for Muslims to accept this is absurd. That is exactly what Abba Sundiata is saying. So Muslims who again quote Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse number 18, they do not read verse 15, where the Bible stipulates that Moses was making reference to his relatives, okay, those that were descended from Isaac, okay. They do not read verse 15. Okay, they just make a general fancy. The Bible is making a prophecy about Muhammad and all that. But I've already told you there isn't an iota of information in the Bible in regards to Muhammad. The only information we can get about Muhammad is exactly what is warranted in Galatians chapter 1, verse number 8 and 9, where the Bible stipulates that even if an angel or any of the apostles turn about or go round about and tells us that there is another message apart from what we have already been given as Bible, such a one must be accursed. Even if an angel does that, that angel is accursed, because that angel must be a demon. So the same applies to the so-called angel that revealed himself to Muhammad. He was a demon, looking at what he did to your prophet. Shall we go and come next time? Please help us with sharing this program. Tag everybody for us, all the Islamic platforms. Sam Shamoun, shout out to you wheresoever you are. May God bless you all. Bye-bye.